Hello, welcome to the Game Plan, where today we are breaking down how the Blues dominated Queensland in State of Origin 1 on the way to their biggest ever Origin victory. I'm Zach Bailey, joined by Anthony Seibold. Siebes, I know you are a proud Queenslander, but with your coaches and analysts hat on, how dominant were the Blues?
Yeah, outstanding performance from the Blues. I think they created ruck momentum when carrying the football, and they left a lot of Maroons defenders on the floor, so they were able to play over the advantage line. So dominant performance, in particular Tom Trbojevic and Latrell Mitchell. That's been spoken about post-game, but very good tactics from the Blues, and they executed really well.
So there were 27,500 screaming Queenslanders in the crowd up there. It was a great atmosphere in Townsville. But from the get-go, let's look at how the Blues broke down the Maroons from the very first set.
Yeah, one of the things they did really well, the back five for New South Wales were outstanding. They made lots of metres and they created momentum for the Blues forwards to run off the back of, and also the halves. And this is an example. This is at the very start of the game. And Tedesco gets the ball from the kickoff. Now, have a look who takes the very first play of the game after that. It's Tom Trbojevic. And this is the thing that really stood out to me, the ruck momentum that was created. You can see there, very first play of the game, there are two Queensland defenders left on the floor. So that's play one of a State of Origin game. As the set plays out, Tedesco carries again, so outside backs. You can see there it's a one-on-one tackle. And again, Christian Welch is left on the floor. So he's left on the floor there. He's not at marker. He's out of the defensive line. Turbo carries again. You'll see again, it's a two-man tackle. So instead of getting three in the tackle there, the very first four plays of the start of the game, Trbojevic and Tedesco had all four touches. They were two-man tackles or one-man tackles, and in every single one of those plays, there was one defender left on the floor, not back at marker. So straight away from the get-go, they created ruck momentum.
So you're a former Maroons assistant coach. If you're sitting in the coach's box alongside Paul Green, are you worried immediately there at the start of the game with the lack of intensity and how the Blues dominated from the get-go?
Well, you are, because what you want defenders hitting together. So coaches will call that dual contact. So essentially it's where myself and you, if there's an attacker coming, we want to hit together. You don't want me hitting first and then you joining the tackle. We want to hit together, dual contact, and then have the third man come in and shoot the legs. That's the ideal gold medal standard with regards to defence. Now, in all four of those first four plays, there was only one or two defenders in each of the tackles. And the Blues just marched up the field off the back of a fullback and a centre carrying all four plays.
So that's in the first set, and the Blues didn't let up the whole game, did they?
No, they didn't. And this, is now in the second half. Here's Tom Trbojevic carrying in the back end of the field. So again, if you have a look who's left on the floor, there's Cameron Munster left on the floor. It happened throughout the whole game. Again, Turbo carrying out of the backfield. There's Kaufusi in the tackle. Offengawa at marker. Who's left on the floor? There's Kaufusi left on the floor. So the amount of times a Queensland defender was left in no man's land and not back at marker, it created instability in the defensive line. So it's really hard for Offengawa to do his job in the next play if there's a player left on the floor. So again, goes back to Maroons defenders need to hit together with dual contact in game two.
Okay, so there were a lot of two-man tackles from the Maroons. Was it 80?
It was 84, so there's another one there. There was 84 times that happened. So there's two defenders. As I said, gold medal standard is when you get three defenders in the tackle. So you have dual contact up high and the third man coming to shoot the legs. But 84 times in the game, which is extremely high. In actual fact, it was almost double the amount of times they had three men in the tackle. So that's one of the very first statistics coaches will look at, because it means, are we doing a good job with regards to slowing down the ruck or controlling the ruck? Not so much slowing down the ruck, but controlling the ruck. And as you said, the momentum that the outside backs created for New South Wales was immense. And, again, you see Latrell Mitchell here. They shift to the edge. It's a one-man tackle there from Dane Gagai. Tino can't join the tackle. And that happened the entire game. But it started from the very first set of six to start the game.
So you mentioned that there. If the Maroons get in there with three players in there, two hitting once and then a third man coming in, what does it result in their favour?
Well, what it does, it means that if you've got dual contact and the third man shooting the legs, it means the third man, he's the last into the tackle, so he's first to go back into the defensive line. So all of a sudden you've got a stability in your defensive line. And then the two guys who have dual contact up top, they go to first and second marker. So when you're at first and second marker, it can actually negate Damien Cook getting out and bringing the forwards or bringing the OBs onto the football. So that's gold medal standard. You want three men in the tackle as much as possible. Third man gets back into the line. You'll see that, when you watch the TV. the games on the tally or live at the ground. You'll see the third man working really hard to get back. He gets himself in the line. Two markers set, stability in the line. When a man's left on the floor, or there's only one marker, or there's not three in the tackle, then there's instability in the defensive line. And there was far too much instability with Queensland on Wednesday night.
And there's a lot of talk as to whether that was the fastest Origin match. Either it also helps to slow down the Blues and take that momentum away from them so they can't shift early to Jerome Luai, Latrell Mitchell and the strike weapons out wide. Now, a big blow for the Maroons in game one. They lost Christian Welch, their forward leader, early in the match. When you lose any player, it's big. But in an Origin, if you lose someone like him inside 13 minutes, how big a blow is that? And what does it do to the rotation and, for Paul Green sitting in the coach's box?
Yeah, it's an extremely big blow. Christian Welch, for mine, is the best defensive forward in the competition. So not only his first contact with his stick, he's very good with regards to shooting the legs as a third man, works extremely hard with his line speed and his reload speed, and he puts enormous inside pressure and kick pressure on the ball players. So he was a big loss, and obviously you don't plan to have someone go down so early. So, I'll talk about we because I'm a Queenslander. We couldn't cover that. When Christian went off, it was certainly a big blow to Queensland's chances on Wednesday night.
Okay, so in some good news for the Maroons, Josh Papali'i, he returns this weekend to club footy. He's expected to be there for game two. How will he help in that area when it comes to 2- and 3-man tackles in the middle to slow the Blues' momentum down?
Well, again, he's really good at getting his body in front. So you talk about dual contact. Just imagine him and Christian Welch having dual contact on some of the outside back carries. It means they'll control the football rather than being on the back foot. So I think Papali, on both sides of the football, he's a very aggressive player, but he's been there and done that. He's been playing Origin for a long time now. He came through at the back end of the careers of Thurston, Smith and those types of guys. So he knows what it means to play for Queensland. He'll be a big in. Christian Welch, again, fit and healthy, all going well for game two. He's a big inclusion as well.
Okay, so with the Blues having all the momentum from early on, it allowed them to expose the short sides of the Maroons' defensive unit.
Yeah, Latrell Mitchell had a night out, and one of the things I saw was it was definitely a tactic. They were getting Felice Kaufusi and Cherry Evans inside tackles, and what they were doing, they were going on to keep going. So they'll get the 4-man and the 3-man involved in the tackle, which meant that a forward such as Jai Arrow had to reload or relocate from the open side to a short side. Latrell Mitchell versus any type of forward on a short side is going to win the battle, and we saw that on a number of occasions in the first half. Latrell jumps to the outside. Jai Arrow was an A defender. Queensland didn't quite get their spacings right. So again, you'll see this time it's Cherry Evans who's involved in the tackle, which again meant that some forwards had to relocate from the open side to the short side.
And Dane Gagai, the centre, he's on his bike there trying to get back and help him.
Well, they got the 3-man and the 2-man in the tackle this time. So the players I want to point out is this is Fotuaika and this is Big Tino as the A and B defenders. Now, Tino's defending as a centre there because they got Cherry Evans and Gagai in the tackles. There's only going to be one winner. It meant that Xavier Coates was a little bit hesitant with regards to his start position in defence, and you can see Latrell skips to the outside again. Too much pace there for Tino. Xavier Coates does a good job in the end, but I think Xavier was spooked a little bit because of the two big bodies inside him. He didn't want to give them too much space, or Latrell would go through that space. And you'll see again this time there's only 3 defenders on a short side. It's Cherry Evans, Gagai and Xavier Coates. Well, Latrell Mitchell's beat him on the outside twice early in the game. This time he comes back off his left foot and beats Dane Gagai on the inside because what they tried to do was overcompensate with their slide defence. So it was a big, a strategy that worked really well, but they got the 4-man, the 3-man inside the tackles. It meant the Maroons forwards had to travel to the short side, and there was, as I said before, a big advantage for the Blues. The other thing I wanted to point out, Kaufusi had to make over 30 tackles. I think it was 33 tackles on the night. They put a lot of fatigue into Kaufusi, and you can see he's a little bit off the pace there. Most of the Queensland defensive line is set, but he was a target from a defensive perspective there for the Blues. And you can see here, there's a little bit of hesitancy. Again, Fotuaika is a middle forward on a short side. You don't want to see that. And Latrell Mitchell's just got too much class and too much time, to set up the try. So I thought it was a masterclass with regards to short side play, getting the 4-in defender inside the tackle, which meant that a Maroons forward had to travel, and then Latrell kept going up the short side.
And what about the performance of Latrell Mitchell, one of the best fullbacks in the game, back in the centres at Origin level, first time in 735 days, but he didn't look out of place at all. He monstered that left edge of the Maroons defensive unit.
Yeah, he's an elite player. So regardless of whether he plays left centre or fullback, he's an elite player, and he's shown over a long period of time. And he's still a young man. He's shown over a long period of time that he's class. He can play in big games. games. He's got big moments all around him, and he showed that with regards to his class on Wednesday night.
From one elite player to another, Tom Trbojevic was immense. Man of the match performance in his return to the Origin arena. 3 fullbacks in this Blues outfit.
Yeah.
They're all seen in this frame,
Yeah.
but his ability to roam, or Freddie's decision to give him that licence to roam, was an absolute masterstroke. And we saw it a couple of years in Perth, but even more dominant on Wednesday night.
Yeah, 2019, I think it was in Perth. Turbo came up with a very similar display. Was on both sides of the field. And you can see again the tactic of getting Cherry Evans, the 3-in defender, and Felice Kaufusi, the 4-in defender, inside the tackle. So then what they'll do is the Blues, they'll get on the keep going, they'll look up short side. So the second point I want to make is, have a look who is on a short side. It's actually Jai Arrow. So Jai Arrow is a middle forward who's had to travel from the other side of the field. He's had to travel from that side of the field and relocate. Now, again, if we back it up just a little bit, have a look at the personnel that New South Wales have on that side of the field. So you've got Teddy, James Tedesco, one of the elite fullbacks in the game. He's on the inside of the Blues 5'8". You've got Latrell Mitchell, fullback for South Sydney Rabbitohs. He's out the back, which is what he does on that left-hand side for the Rabbitohs. And then you've got Tom Trbojevic, who is the right centre coming over to play in this particular picture as the left centre. So there's 3 real threats there.
And Cherry Evans, Daly Cherry Evans, he knows he's got his eyes on Teddy there, and he's pointing, saying, "Watch this, boys."
Yeah.
But again, as you mentioned, Gyro's on the right edge, and they're already in trouble, the Maroons, from the get-go.
Yeah, so there's 5 attacking players versus 3 defenders. So as I let it play out, there's Jai Arrow taking himself out. So the other 2 players are Xavier Coates as a winger and Dane Gagai as the centre, or a 2-in defender. So it's a 5v3 situation. As I said, it was definite game plan, because they kept going at Felice Kaufusi and Cherry Evans, getting them involved in the tackle, and then going on the up. That's what coaches would call it. So really good tactics there. But Tommy Turbo, he come across from the other side of the field, and they don't make a line break as such here, but they create momentum, and that puts the Maroon side under pressure. The other thing we saw from Turbo was, carrying the football through the middle third. We spoke about that early, and creating momentum. This is really interesting. So that's 2 plays before a try in the left-hand side corner. So Turbo takes a carry, and Tedesco shifts the footy. There's Junior Paulo to Cleary, Cam Murray to Addo Carr. So
just to remind people, this is where Tom Trbojevic should, in everyday speak of footy, if he's the right centre, he should be inside Addo Carr out here.
Yeah, he would be somewhere around about that position there, and be a possible option. Now, in this particular picture, Turbo's at the top of our screen here. So he carried the football. On the very next play, they shift to the right-hand side. So rather than just rest on his laurels because he carried the football, he's actually pushing in support through the middle third, just in case there's a line break from Addo Carr or Tedesco. So he's there in support. So as the clip plays through, again, Capewell makes the tackle on Addo Carr. So have a look. He's obviously had to work extremely hard to get to the left-hand side. So it's a 2-pass shift. So there's the 2 passes. Now we find Turbo out here essentially as an inside centre. So it's almost back to the 80s days of Mick Cronin and Steve Ella, for those old enough to remember those guys, for Parramatta. But yeah, again, Turbo carried the football, pushed through the middle third in support, and then ends up on the left-hand side of the field. And he comes up with the grubber kick for Latrell Mitchell to score in New South Wales' left-hand side corner. So fantastic positioning, great strategy to allow Turbo to roam on Wednesday night. But I just thought that clip there was a big effort clip. That took a lot of choices from Turbo. Carried the footy, push support, then get to position where he can touch the football on the last play, and comes up with the big play and sets up a try for Latrell Mitchell.
That was clearly hard to stop for the Maroons, because they were dumbfounded after the game. The Maroons captain, Daly Cherry Evans, his club teammate, said, "Look, you can try your best, but sometimes they're just too good."
Yeah.
They tried to go hard at him. He got on the outside of them a couple of times. How do they stop Tom Trbojevic in game 2? Can you have a tagger on him and say, his right-hand defensive centre, can they just follow him the whole game? How do you do it?
I think now that they've seen some trends, okay, so Turbo's going to go missing from his edge. So if Kirk Capewell's the left-hand side centre for Queensland again, and Cameron Munster's the left half for Queensland again, one of their big roles would be to identify where Turbo is on the field. Now, if he goes all the way over to the Blues' left-hand side of the field, what Munster and Capewell have to do is flip a defender from this side of the play the ball to the other side of the play the ball. So what you need to do is you load up an extra defender on Queensland's right-hand side. That's that's what you need to do because there's no one in front of you. And coaches call that flipping a defender. So they need to shift a defender from their side of the field to the other side of the play the ball. That would help. But it's identifying where he is on the field and talking his threat. That's a big one. But they need to overload with the defender when he goes missing to the left-hand side of the Blues.
So it's not necessarily the same player always marking Tom, so it's not going to be the opposition's defensive centre going across, but just a man, whoever it is, just an extra man on that edge.
Yeah, with regards to their line organisation, the three-in defender Munster and the two-in defender Capewell have to help the team. If they look up and there's no Turbo, flip a defender from their side of the field to the other side of the play the ball. Now that will thicken up the defensive line. Now you've still got to tackle, Tom Trbojevic, but if you've got an extra defender there, it gives you a little bit more of a chance. So that would be one tactic that they can use in game 2.
And is there any way that we can see this becoming a trend in the NRL players like Joey Manu, Joseph Suwali, who's, he hasn't played much NRL footy yet, but will we start seeing players?
I think we see it from time to time. I think back to Alex Johnson at times for the South Sydney Rabbitohs. He'll go from his left wing and he'll end up in the middle of the field, sort of hanging around, as an inside option for ball players, or go all the way over to the other side of the field and be an option there. I've seen, Stephen Crichton do it for the Panthers as well. So it's been a little bit of a trend, but,
no one does it better.
Yeah, no one does it better than Tommy Trbojevic.
Okay, and speaking of Tommy, he became the first person in State of Origin history in just his 6th Origin match to score 2 hat-tricks. It's a pretty incredible stat. So let's run through his tries and see how he was used effectively, even when he was on his right edge where he was meant to be.
Well, he's played 6 games for the Blues and they've won 5 that he's played in. So talk about dominance, and as you said, 2 hat-tricks in those plays. So this is New South Wales' first try on Wednesday night. Essentially, they got to, roughly what we call 50 field position. So somewhere in and around that field position there, from the black dot to the post, is roughly half the field. And one of the trends we saw, or we have seen throughout, 2021 is teams running leads inside the 2-in defender. So this defender here in Kurt Capewell is the 2-in defender, Munster's the 3-in defender. So Cameron Murray's job is to hold up Capewell, to try and get him to turn in, to allow a 2v1 situation at the back of shape. So you can see there, Capewell just plants his feet on Cam Murray. Cam Murray does a great job. Now, the way to solve this for me would have been if these 2 defenders get up hard, Kyle Feldt can go and land on Tommy Trbojevic because he's actually quite flat out the back of shape. But what they've done is they've tried to slide here and be passive close to the line, and Turbo's just too big and strong close to the line to handle. So lead inside the 2-man, you can't give Turbo time. You need to go and cramp his time. So I think the Queensland defenders, as an edge there, needed to get up to the 10 metres, and then Kyle Feldt could have made the decision to pull the trigger on Tom Trbojevic.
So that's 1 of 3 tries.
Yeah, 1 of 3. The other one is just, you'll see him here, pushing through the middle third, what he does for Manly Seagulls every single week. The ball will come back to him. So all good fullbacks push that middle third. Latrell Mitchell, a fullback, pushing. Tom Trbojevic, a fullback, pushing. Great job there by the Blues. And again, Nathan Cleary in this next clip jumping down a short side. So you talk about elite practice or elite standards. There's Tedesco pushing down the middle third of the field. So all young fullbacks at home watching this. That's the positioning. You've seen there Trbojevic, Tedesco, Latrell Mitchell. As soon as there's a line break, they push through that middle third of the field. And then here's Turbo as well. So again, like all good fullbacks and centres do, pushing down that middle third. Finds Tedesco, and Tom Trbojevic just keeps moving just in case, and the ball comes back to him. So there's 3 really good tries there from Tom Trbojevic.
Okay, so he was up against Kurt Capewell in game 1. Who has his measuring game 2? Is there anyone that they can put in front of Tom Trbojevic to stop him?
Yeah, well, I'm not too sure. I think, the availability for centres for Queensland is obviously a little bit shallow because, Capewell plays as a right edge back row for Penrith week in, week out. So he had to start on the left edge. One thing they potentially could do is move Dane Gagai to the left edge. Now, Dane plays as a left centre for South Sydney week in, week out, and he started as a right centre on Wednesday night. So potentially move Dane to his position that he plays for his club team. That would be one option there. But then obviously you've got the big presence of Latrell Mitchell as well. So, we're not blessed with a lot of depth as centres with Queensland at the moment. But if, Kalen Ponga's fit, there could be some, shuffling of the back line there where Val Holmes might go to the wing and so on. But, definitely we need to come up with a plan to shut down Latrell and Tom Trbojevic.
Okay, we always talk about Origin-style plays, those big plays that coaches love to see. They're all effort plays. And in the past, we've seen a lot of Queenslanders pull this off late in the game. The game was one and done, 50 points to 6 in the 77th, 78th minute. And Isaiah Yeo produced one of those special Origin plays that you've highlighted as your play of the match.
Yeah, this is my play of the match. As you said, it's 50 points to 6. Now, here's Yeo here. He's in the number 13 jersey. Now, his job in this particular situation is to go and put some kick pressure on Daly Cherry Evans. Now, the easy thing for him to do would be to take himself out here. And you know what? If he doesn't keep moving here at 50 to 6, people in the grandstands or watching on TV at home probably wouldn't even pick this up. But he decides to keep moving just in case on the last play. So there he is. He puts a little bit of kick pressure on Cherry Evans. Now, he's a long way from the football as I let this clip play through. He's actually not even in the picture here. Just have a look who turns up. There he is there in the number 13 jersey. Now, the easy thing to do in this situation here, Xavier Coe is very good in the air, would be to stop moving. But the Blues' performance, this resonated in their performance. All the choices or the effort areas or the areas that don't require any talent or skill, they were very good at. They were really good with their skill execution. But I thought this summed up their effort and the choices they made. There's Yeo, try-saving tackle close to the line. Dane Gagai, he always finds an opportunity for the Queensland team. I just thought that was a fantastic example of making the choice to keep moving just in case. And that was the big difference, I thought, on Wednesday night, that the Blues players made the choice to keep moving just in case on last plays and with all their effort areas.
All right, so Brad Fittler, a very pleased man with that effort and a very pleased man given the win, their biggest ever for the Blues in Origin history. Let's look forward to Game 2. It's at Suncorp Stadium, must win for the Maroons. Paul Green, big decisions to make in terms of personnel. Josh Papali'i, hopefully Kalen Ponga's fit. Maybe Ben Hunt comes back in onto the bench. But how do the Maroons, what do they have to do to win Game 2 to keep this series alive?
Yeah, from a coaching perspective, field position and possession are key. So where Queensland hand over the football, they can't hand over the football to New South Wales down their end of the field. So it's really important they get to their kick and dive into their kick chase. But for me, it's about dual contact off the back of that. There was too many one-man tackles or one defender hitting a big body for New South Wales, which meant that the New South Wales team, created the momentum. So dual contact, third man shooting the leg. So that's the first thing. The second thing for me is the tactic of the Blues to get Kaufusi and Cherry Evans into a tackle to play on the keep going with Latrell Mitchell. What they need to do with their line organisation is make sure they lock the keep going side first. So by that means if there's 3 attackers there, have 3 defenders. If there's 4 attackers on the keep going, have 4 defenders. So whatever attacking frame that New South Wales shape up there, we need to mirror that, or Queensland need to mirror that. That's number 2. And the third one is this: if Capewell and Munster, for instance, are on that left edge again, and they see Turbo go to the other side of the field or go missing, what we need to do is flip a defender from this side of the play of the ball to thicken up the line on the keep going, because essentially they're going to do that again. Now, it's easier said than done, but they're 3 examples of where Queensland can find significant improvement in Game 2.
Okay, so 44-point margin in Game 1. Are you confident your Maroons can make up that difference and keep the series alive in Game 2?
Oh, look, I think, at Suncorp Stadium in a couple of weeks' time, it'll be a much better prepared Queensland team. There's no doubt about that. I've heard Paul Green talk about their preparation was a little bit disrupted with injuries and so on. So, Harry Grant, Munster will have played some more football by then. Christian Welch will be back. Josh Papali'i will be, an inclusion in the team. Potentially Kalen Ponga. I think there'll be a much more settled preparation with regards to Queensland, and I can see them competing really strongly. Whether they have, New South Wales measure, they need to keep Tommy Trbojevic quiet, that's for sure. But I think you'll see a much more improved performance from Queensland.
Siebes, as always, great analysis. Thanks for joining us here on The Game Plan. We can't wait for State of Origin Game 2 at Suncorp Stadium on June 27th.